Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Vampire the Masquerade game, Salem by Night. My name is Will. I'll be your storyteller this evening. And last we left off with our Anarch crew. We find them kind of heading over to Chapman Corner, trying to find Paolo Antonio Marcucci, who is supposed to have information on where Andrew Givens is. They had their choice of kind of going to Chapman Corner, dealing with Marcucci, or going up to Salem Town and dealing with Otis King. They ended up at Marcucci's territory first, where they met his two ghouls, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, respectively. One is thin and tall, the other is short and round, and they recognized Erikson before anybody else, calling him the Senator. They claimed that they had heard the group was in league with Harvey Green, but were allowed to meet with Marcucci. They kind of drove them around the block, did a couple figure eights, and came right back to where they were, where they found Marcucci kind of and a couple of his muscles sitting in lawn chairs and beach chairs. He offered them 50 grand to take out Otis King because they said that they would also talk to him. Excuse me. They were told that King had been given Salem Town just after Geraldine took over. They were told that Givens had had 2 businesses burned down already, and they were told that if anybody has seen Givens, it's probably John Coulson, who's a member of Otis King's coterie and also known as a kind of vault of secrets. The group then took off to Gunther's storage and holdings, where they met with Otis King. Had an interesting discussion, and they mentioned kind of Grant Reynolds to try and get a rise out of him, and were kind of surprised to learn that Otis King and his coterie had kind of kept tabs on Grant himself. Andreas even left some of his information as they could be starting to work together. And then, just as their kind of meeting was coming to a crescendo, they heard a news report about a bomb exploding in the Orpheus Theater, and were warned about not coming into historic downtown. Erikson pulled a power move and pulled Otis over the side of his desk to shake his hand, and left with small tidbits of information. Then we jumped to the Elysium, where both coteries kind of met for the first time. Before jumping to the Elysium, Andreas Barker kind of rode by the the Orpheus Theater to try and scope out what happened, and realized that there were signs of a firefight that had happened, that this was not just some projector malfunction as people were reporting. Both coteries met for the first time. They also dealt with Otis King. Some information was had. Several people were given a moment of silence for their service to the tower. Among them, Alfred Beckett, Joshua Allens, Mikhail Voskov, Alice Valens, and they were also introduced to a Hannah Smalley, an Archon direct from Chicago, who was there to validate the blood hunt on Yvette Morrison, as well as the blood hunt on Grant Reynolds himself. And almost like he was being summoned, Grant Reynolds himself walked into the Elysium, dropped off a skull of what he claims to be is Marcucci's, and claimed Chapman Corner as well as West Salem as his new barony. Sheriff Green made motions to kind of go after Reynolds, but he was stopped. And that's when Geraldine declared that West Salem and Salem proper were going to be united in a Camarilla, under the Camarilla banner, and they gave Chapman Corner to Melvin Wright and his coterie. After that, the events of the Elysium were quickly cut off or cut short, and so this coterie has not been introduced to the prints themselves, but they did have some choice meetings between themselves, the other coterie, and Sheriff Green. They learned a little bit about Otis's coterie, in that one of his members is an outright animal, Another one is loyal to a fault, in that John Coulson is the most mysterious member of that coterie to date. And as such, I think this is a good point where we can kind of reintroduce ourselves to everyone. It's good to see your faces. It's been some time. Let's pick up a week after the Elysium. It's Friday, June 8th. Is there anything you guys would want to have done during that week?
During that week, I probably, considering the information that we've overheard, one, well, was my character specifically, what happened with Mickey, and then, I kind of want to been able to reach out to my sire.
Okay. It's not difficult to get on the horn with Elizabeth. And she's the one that tells you that Friday the 8th there's going to be a meeting. Yvette is gathering all of her power players, as it were. So she makes sure that you are aware of that and that to bring the rest of your coterie.
Awesome. So, I during that time, I obviously would have relayed that information to Mustang and Andreas.
Mhm.
Uh, Now, I would want to pretense like I do want to make sure that I tell my sire that on top of this, the one of the people that are part of my coterie is part of the motorcycle club that was transporting Mickey, if that makes, and try to see what their reaction is as far as that incident that's happened, if they know anything about it.
There's a quiet moment on the phone, and then
Fuck.
it almost sounds like she's shifting the phone from one ear to the other, and you hear her say, "That's unfortunate. Um, and hopefully that won't come back to bite either of you in the ass."
I'm going to kill your sire, and I'm going to need your help.
Oh well, we don't know. We don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know what's gonna happen.
But she quickly hangs up after that. Is there anything that Mustang wants to do during this week?
Does Saif ever show up?
Yep. During the week, he shows up. Like, I
Cool.
think on that Monday after the Elysium, he actually comes into town.
Okay.
And he does kind of get in contact with your sire to get in contact with you. And there's one evening where the two of you just kind of spend it talking about what you expect from him, like what he's here to do, what he has been trained to do. And he asks you in a very somber moment, he's just like, "Have you dealt with any Tremere since the phone call was made?"
Have I?
No. Well, kind of.
No.
I mean, Andrew did.
You shot at them?
Yeah, he did go into the mirror.
Oh. Well, but he knows that already.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
before the phone call.
Yeah, so I haven't.
No. Okay.
So I tell him that I haven't.
Okay. Now we'll need to go hunting then.
Hunting for what?
I need traces of their existence, clothing, blood, preferably, but anything will do. Can you take me to these businesses that were burnt down that belong to him?
Sure.
Yep. Where do you take him first, the bookshop or the florist?
Well, I never went to the florist. So the
Correct.
bookshop.
Okay. Once you get there, he kind of walks around in the in the rubble. You notice that the fire itself was very contained, almost like they were very careful not to spread into the other businesses next door. And after a moment, you see him kind of shoulder the remnants of a heavy bookshelf, and it topples over. And as it does, it kind of reveals a secret latch to a basement. And he kind of smiles in your direction, and he holds out his hand, and he's like, "Ladies first, yes?"
We go down there.
Okay. And down there, you see there is a table that looks to have carved kind of channels of what looks to be an outline of limbs, kind of like where a body should rest. And he kind of looks at it, he puts his hand on it, he kind of tastes it. There was a woman here. This is fresh. Maybe a week old.
Do you know anything else about this woman?
He scrapes up, like you see him pull out a small butterfly knife. He flicks it around until the blade comes out, and he scrapes some of the blood into a small piece of like parchment paper. He's like, I have some rituals that I can perform. It'll take some time though. And starts looking around. There are telltale signs here of blood sorcery. Sounds like it.
Is there anything else that we see in this basement?
Let's have you make the first roll of the night. Let's do a wits and awareness roll. Or investigation, your choice. Also
Wits.
assume that everybody is now at hunger 1.
Oh, we're all currently here, or is she just here with her contact?
No, it's just her and Saif right now.
Okay.
Investigation or
Or awareness, whichever you'd like.
investigation and
Wits.
let's do investigation. and
So it's 6 regular dice and 1 hunger dice. 7 dice.
Hold on. 7. Okay, so
6 or higher.
hunger.
Anything 6 or higher is a success.
Yeah, so 8, 9, 2, 6, 3, 9, and 4 hunger.
Okay. So between the two of you, you see the kind of runic leftovers of blood sorcery. You see what looks to have been some pages of a journal that looked like they were burnt, but some of it had survived. You can't make out any of the actual dialogue, any of the writing on it. It looks to be Latin at best guess, maybe Greek. But you do see that there's some images that remind you of the Vitruvian Man.
So this is what they might have used to create that thing.
Probably. This is probably something that, if not what they use, it's definitely like a kind of a scientist's
Blueprint.
journal. But yeah, he goes over and he comes back with like a little handful of what looks to be strawberry blonde, almost auburn hair that he also kind of like shows you. He's like, does this remind you of anyone? Does this look like anyone that you have seen, that would belong to anyone that you have seen before?
There is a redhead. Right?
There is a redhead in the Primogen Council. Yeah, Aisling McGinty.
But this is not. Does this look like her hair?
It's a little too blonde to be her. Like she's kind of like full on Scottish redhead.
Right.
Like this is a kind of redhead that saw a lot of sun.
Got it. Human then.
Probably.
Can we find out if it's human?
He nods.
sure.
He nods, and he's like, "I can also form a ritual for this."
Cool. Is there anything else in the basement? He said it was a few days old. That
Yeah, within a week.
someone must have been there within a week.
Yeah.
Which is definitely like post fire.
Mhm.
Are there traces of people being in there other than the table?
With the 4 successes you got, you could see that the steps themselves did not have any dust on them, or any of that kind of burnt ash from upstairs. It definitely looks like this was a much better protected room. Like whatever was in here was valuable enough to kind of like, even if the library burnt, this
A
would,
fireproof.
Mhm.
Yeah.
this would survive the building.
And there's nothing else other than burnt books, even though it's protected.
Down here, no, it looks like somebody went out of their way to burn whatever was being collected down here. Like this doesn't look like it was the same fire. So much so that after kind of sifting around one last time, you do find that there is what looks to be a needle. It looks like there's still some blood left in the kind of chamber.
Oh, like a syringe.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I try it
Like if you
a little
could,
bit?
yeah, you could squeeze some of it onto your tongue.
Yeah.
It definitely has some magical attribute to it because it's not coagulated, and
Okay.
it does taste. It does taste of vampirism to you. It does taste of kindred blood, but you can't point out what it is, and you don't feel a sudden shift in any demeanor towards anyone you've met so far. So you're kind of like, if this belongs to a vampire, it's definitely somebody you haven't met before.
Okay. Well, I tell Saif that.
Yeah, he takes the syringe from you. We'll also use these then.
Yeah. So it looks like the last time someone was here would have been the last time they would have been there.
Mhm.
Like they're not coming back.
No, this does not look like this is salvageable.
Okay.
I would dare to imagine that there must be one like this in the other
In
business.
the florist shop. Okay.
Mhm. Not surprise me.
Should we go there?
I am at your service. As you take him over there, what is Andreas doing during this week?
I figured during the course of the week, I'd be trying to confirm some of the stuff that happened at Elysium. Like, number one, see if we actually can locate Marcucci and see if that really was. I mean, if we can find him, that clearly wasn't his skull that Grant Reynolds had, which still would beg the question who it was.
Mhm.
Let's see. And out of the information we got from Otis King, I would just be trying to close up the sections of town we're planning on controlling.
Okay. Word gets back to you by Wednesday that if Marcucci's not dead, he's definitely gone to ground. The so much so that the kind of lineage, the kind of heir to the throne, as it were, which is his childer, Annabelle Wilson, she's even missing.
Okay.
So if this was definitely an expungement of Marcucci from West Salem, it is a thorough one.
And obviously no sign of Grant Reynolds during this entire time.
No.
Okay. He went straight from not caring if anybody saw him to now we can't find him again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing that's being attributed to Grant Reynolds is there is a murder scene that was attributed to a pack of wild dogs. So much so that there's been a current kind of rerunning ad of kind of making sure that your animals are taken in to get rabies shots and whatnot, and that they're not let loose. But the artists formerly known as Tweedledee and Tweedledum were found kind of eviscerated, like as a wild animal attacked them.
Okay. So we can knock off Tweedle. This is a shame. I was getting to like Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
They're good people.
Were good people.
Yep.
As far as we know.
I used the right terminology.
Okay, so as much as I hate to have to work with the sheriff and someone, I guess I pretty much see the free souls being on random patrols throughout our parts of town for the rest of the week.
Okay.
Yeah, this is before the age of cell phones, but shit.
Yeah. So as that's happening, we go back to Erikson, who has still a few days before Friday, was put the word out there for his kind of coterie to meet up. And you've heard that there is a new face in town. There's a couple new faces, but there's one that the description kind of rubs him the wrong way. It is a gentleman who's kind of got a dark brown complexion, very kind of burnt honey eyes, short black hair. It looks like he has some tattoos that kind of are sneaking out of his sleeve on his right arm. And people have said that they've seen him with your coterie member Mustang during the week.
Okay, so they're saying the person that came here to see Mustang, people have seen that person around her now is pretty much what I'm hearing.
Yeah, there's an air of superiority that people have noticed about him.
Okay, I mean, and well, I take it as if I think about it, but I take it as if Mustang is with this person, then obviously she trusts this person.
Mhm.
I don't, as of right now, I don't see any reason to think of that being suspicious. Although I have a feeling that I might be meeting this person soon. What I do want to find out is if I've heard, besides that, has there been anything else? I mean, anything out of the ordinary that is, like, any news about what happened in Chicago? Any news about, trying to think. Well, yeah, just about Chicago. If there was anything that I've heard, anything updated from that.
The only thing that's come out of Chicago is that there are Archons and Justicars kind of being sent out to validate all of the new princes, to make sure that the cities are kind of operating as they should be. Any Camarilla strongholds are still holding strong. But you have kind of heard that whatever happened with your convoy to Chicago has been attributed to what's happening on the West Coast. There's a sudden loss of communication between the tower and San Diego, San Jose, and San Francisco.
Oh, so they just cut off communication.
Yeah, the last bastion of the Camarilla that the Camarilla has on the West Coast currently is Los Angeles, as far as like strong ports of incoming goods and services and information.
Okay, so pretty much what you're saying is that those areas are in the dark right now with the Camarilla.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this all happened in the span of a week.
It's been happening. There's rumors, like the only thing that people have speculated is that about a month ago there was a woman named here right now, named Li Qing Baozhu, that they call the Little Dragon, who had made a power grab for San Francisco a few years ago and has kind of accumulated enough resources to make another grab for it. The thing that makes her dangerous is the fact that she comes from a dynasty of Kuei-jin. And these are the offshoot Oriental vampires that kind of exist off of your yin and yang energies. They're not as blood-driven as the Eastern vampires.
So you're saying more of an energy type thing?
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good to know.
Yep.
I actually want to also see if I can get through my contacts about Grant Reynolds, if they've heard where where he is currently at, or where he's currently at, if they have any inkling.
Okay. Let's have you make a
Rolls.
roll. Let's have you make a charisma and streetwise.
All right, so that's 4. That's not that great.
Oh, also you would have healed up. Yeah, if you guys have any damage, which I think Erikson's the only one that had damage.
Yeah.
You would have healed up during this time.
Oh, sweet. Yes.
So, yeah, I took care of that for you.
Thank you. So now my mangled hand is no longer mangled.
Correct.
Yep. I mean, that trick only works half the time.
Yeah. So far you're batting a 0.5, bro. It's not terrible.
Yeah, that's not bad. Batting 500.
Yeah.
But okay, so I got 2 8s, a 7, and a 2.
Okay. He says that there's been a lot of talk coming from West Salem about a couple of new power players. He hasn't heard anything about a single male, but there is a kind of power couple, a male and a female, that have recently come into town that are scaring a bunch of people, and they're making some very big and kind of gambled moves.
Any information on the names?
The guy says that the only thing that he has to go off of is the woman's last name, which is Guernsey. Everything's kind of being funneled through her.
Guernsey. Okay. All right. Any information? I'm gonna go ahead and any my contacts. I just want to go ahead and advise them any updated information regarding either this power couple, Grant Reynolds, anything regarding what happened there in Chicago.
Mm.
I want it to be funneled over and to see if they can send that over to the last call bar. And I want to go ahead and get in touch with the Bruja there and let her know that I'm trying to investigate some more information regarding what the sheriff is requesting.
Right. Sam kind of gives you her typical like, great. Now I'm a messaging service.
And then I pat her on the shoulder and I say thank you. I really do appreciate everything that you have done for us.
But yeah,
Isn't my love enough?
as that's those wheels are being turned, we go back to Mustang at the floor shop with Saif, and he does find another kind of latch that leads to another basement. And again, it's the same thing. It's a table with the grooves where somebody could be splayed out. There's more things that have been burnt in here. This time you do find a kind of obsidian knife that has a leather kind of thong strap wrapped around what would be a handle, but the whole thing is just made out of like one chunk of obsidian.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and even Saif is like really careful when he touches it.
Okay. Did you say in the last location that there were runes on the table?
In the room, there were
Runes in the room.
yeah.
Is there any way? Do I recognize any of the runes?
No. These are definitely like blood sorcery runes.
Does
Saif looks like he recognizes some of them, but not all of them.
I asked Saif if he could tell me a little bit about the runes he recognizes.
The ones that he recognizes are, and he'll point them out to you, and he takes a very somber tone. He's like, these are runes that we do not use in our practice, in our sorcery, as these are very damning, not just to the person it's being used on, but to the person that is using them. They are attuned using someone's blood, whoever would be on this table, for instance, and touching the rune produces an effect. This one here is pain. Straightforward. This one is the suffering of silence. So touching the rune would create a unfathomable amount of pain in whoever is being tortured, but there would be no sound allowed to be produced. These are psychological kind of terror tactics that the usurpers have taken to ensure their rule, as it were. These are barbaric.
How do you know so much about this, Saif?
One must know what the enemy is capable of, so they may better handle them when the time comes. I myself am a practitioner of blood sorcery, but mine, I can assure you, is not depraved.
Is there anything out of the ordinary or special about this basement?
It looks...
Other than the knife and all that.
Yeah, no, it looks like the same as the other one. It looks like somebody was here post-burning. Somebody was on the table at some point. Again, you find the same kind of colored strands of hair.
Mhm.
And he kind of like has this idea, and he kind of poses it to you out loud. He's just like, why would they move whoever was being held here? Unless they were being held here while this was being burnt, and then they had to move them. This feels like a her.
So he's suggesting that there was someone in this building, the flower shop gets burned down.
Yep.
And then they moved this individual to the bookshop.
Yep.
Because does he believe that someone hasn't been there for quite a few weeks, as opposed to the book in the bookshop they've been there like a week before?
Yeah, this looks a lot more discarded than the bookshop.
Yeah,
like there's a thin layer, like you've upset the thin layer of dust that was settling on the stairs. And after a moment, he's like, if you have time, indulge me. And he kind of puts the hair where the head should be. There's a moment you see him cut himself with his butterfly knife, and he draws a kind of different looking rune, a more Arabic looking rune on the table itself. And after a moment, it's a good 10-15 minutes of him going through what looks to be a ritual of just like different incantations and just humming and kind of like adjusting his pitch here and there. There's a sudden moment where the dried blood kind of starts to flare up, almost like burnt paper on top of fire. Like it starts to kind of flurry, and it forms into a kind of nervous system. And then the little remnant of it just kind of finally explodes outward into a mist, and you see the shape of what looks like a woman. And he kind of comes over to the foot of the table, and he's like, please, he looks at you, he's like, I have 3 questions that I may ask of it. I wish to know its name. What other 2 do you wish to know? My desert flower.
Where are they now? And so name, where are they now? And I don't know. Yeah. Name, where are they now? And
so he looks at her, he looks at the shape, he's like, Spirit, tell us your name. There's a quiet moment as this thing starts to breathe in, and we'll jump over to Andreas. What else are you doing during this week?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Trying to stay out of trouble.
Yep.
No, I'm just kidding.
Towards Thursday, it is brought to your attention, like through some of the other Brotherhood members, that somebody has been looking for you over at the last call.
Favorite place to stop.
Yeah, it happened Wednesday. Like they came into town on a Wednesday, and they've just been kind of like asking about you or Bartley.
Me or Bartley.
Yeah.
Okay. Well then.
And
the last call is where I was going to be headed.
Yeah, and people are like, they're a little confused because they think they know who it is, but there's something different about them. And when you show up there on Thursday, one of the other guys kind of, Shepard kind of points him out to you. It's just like, I think that's Brandel.
Brandel?
August Brandel. He's one of the boys I sent to Chicago.
Wait, who's telling me? Who's telling me he sent somebody to Chicago?
This is Shepard, your ghoul.
Oh, Shepard. Yep. Sorry.
He's like, it. I mean, it looks like August, but that's not Augie. There's something feral about him, if you know what I mean, boss.
Let me send Benjamin to talk to him.
Mhm.
I, on the other hand, will be sneaking around behind him just in case, because this is what I think it might be. Someone's gonna have to grab this motherfucker by the neck.
Okay. So let's have you make a Dex and Stealth roll. Two and three is 5, so 4 regular, 1 hunger.
All right, I got 2 8s, a 9, a 7, and a 5 on the hunger.
Okay. So you see that this guy is kind of like mostly looking at the jukebox. He's got his back to the doorway. It's kind of like his left leg is kind of like bouncing up and down with anxiety. And as Shepard kind of goes over, kind of scoots, kind of alerted in his seat, kind of almost standing up. Shepard's kind of holding his hands out. He's like, whoa, big fella, like, calm down. I'm not here to hurt you. Just want to have a drink, have a talk. Want to know why you're looking for Mr. Barker or Mr. Gray in particular. They're not big on being called out. And you hear the guy, listen, I need help. I don't know what's going on. I think I know they can help me. I just need to know where they are. Tell me where they are, Shepard. And you see him kind of scoot in towards Shepard. Shepard kind of shifts his seat back. And he's like, all right. There's no need for all that now. And
Taking a glance around, are we drawing any undue attention? I mean, I know this is the last call, so.
no, people know that once the free souls are in here, like they're not paying attention.
Okay, excellent. I like it when everybody becomes astronomers at the same time.
Yeah, people are engaged with whatever conversations are going on. There's a pool game. There's one guy that's been practicing darts since you got in here.
Mm-hmm. And this guy one of the free souls that we're talking about, because you said Shepard sent him to Chicago, right?
Yeah. This is definitely one of the. He still has his sleeveless kind of denim jacket, but it looks like it has seen better days. There's a spatter of blood across the back. It looks like there's what looks to be just the map of Russia of blood on his side, but there's also a gash, like a knife could easily have fit in that slot. Like it's not a pocket hole.
So I'm probably gonna surprise him just a little bit, but nice hearty slap on the shoulder. August, how have you been? Where the hell? We haven't seen you in weeks.
You see him wheel about as he stands up, and there's a moment where his eyes flash red, and you see the fangs in his mouth.
Looks to me like you had a hell of a time.
He's like, I don't know what's happening to me, Andy. What's happening to me?
Let's get away from some of the other folks. We'll see if we can get some room in the back. Is Samantha around?
Yeah.
Ask her. We don't need to use it for office or anything like that. Just somewhere quieter in the back end. She's got any blood bags or any little bit of supplies.
Yeah. I don't have any of that, but I do have a room in the back And she throws her towel over at the lanky kind of bar back that she has, and she leads you over to what is the room where Erikson and Mustang had slept a couple of weeks ago. Just a bunch of cots, a couple chairs. It's like, this should do you. It's soundproof,
Okay.
so if you guys get into it, nobody will hear. And she kind of closes the door after you guys go in.
Hopefully we won't have to do that, Sam. All right, so if we can get August calmed down a little bit, I might need to pour him a drink out of my own veins in a few minutes. Much as I hate the idea of blood bonding somebody,
Yeah.
might need a sip right now. So,
but you see that Shepard has kind of come in, set himself up by the door, back to the corner of it, arms crossed. August is kind of pacing around like a figure eight of the cots. You can just see that now that this was definitely one of your brothers that you remember being like lively, that he was just a kind of happy-go-lucky kind of guy. And he was sweet on a girl. And he just kind of like looks at you, he looks down at his hands, and he kind of tosses his gloves down, and you can see what just looks to be these bloody hands that he hasn't really cleaned up. He starts to unbutton his sleeveless jacket, and you can see the rest of the kind of like the bloody clothes underneath. He's just like, what the fuck, man? What is this? I didn't sign up for this.
all right, sit down, Augie. Just take a minute. You're gonna wear a hole in the carpet. Let me fix you a drink. Tell me what happened. So, by the way, in the course of fixing him whatever drink, I am slipping some of my blood into. I mean, at least to make it palatable to him. This is what, because I'm pretty sure this guy got embraced already.
Yeah. He smells the liquor, and he kind of tosses it to the side. He's just like, this doesn't do anything for me anymore.
And I have a feeling I know what does, August, and we'll get to that.
Is this what you and Bartley are?
Best way to keep yourself young looking after a long period of time? Unfortunately, this fate usually chooses you. You don't get to choose it. And it seems like it picked you very recently. I don't know how long it's taken you to get back here. Have you run into anybody you know?
No, just Shepard. Some of the others that were here.
Okay.
I walked the whole way over here. He sits down, like he slumps down into one of the cots, and he's just like, I've done things, Andy. I'm never gonna live this down.
The good news is you may not have to, but there's going to be some things you're going to have to get used to, August. So I'm guessing most of this blood on your hands, at least, isn't yours.
Most of it is mine.
Most of it's yours. Okay, so you've had a real rough time of it. I'm taking most of the blood on the cut is yours as well, which we're gonna have to get you a new one, aren't we?
He pulls up his shirt, and you see that there's no wound on his side. He's just like, I got stabbed. Like I felt it pierce. I felt it go in. I felt it come out. Like I killed a family, Andy. I saw the kid. Still hear him screaming for his mom. That's not me. It's not what I want him to be.
No, that's not you. That's the beast. You're gonna have to learn to live with this, but it's horrific right now. I know this is the worst. This is the most shocking point. But if you can get past this, not only will you be able to get through this, you'll be able to flourish, be able to be a man again. But you gotta chill. You gotta relax. You gotta tell me what happened when you're taking my man to Chicago. What happened? Start there.
Chicago's years away from where I am right now, man. Like we were on the road. We were, you know, 6 strong on bikes. We were 4 of us in the Winnebago. And that cat Mickey, you know, when he was awake, he was actually a good guy. Like, do you think he ever killed the family?
Our kind, very likely. Any one of us, it's control that can slip at the worst time.
He points at Shepard. He's like, is he one of us?
No, not yet. Anyway, that'll be up to him a little bit later on. Sometimes we do pick who we make into this August, but sometimes people do it to their victims. Sometimes it's just a cruel prank. Sometimes it's to make a point. Sometimes it's just to put someone who's your enemy on their back foot, because now they have to deal with someone who's, you're gonna have to get used to this term, undead. Undead.
I liked my life. Indeed.
Cat's out of the bag big time on that one, but
I don't want to hurt Rebecca.
What about Rebecca?
I don't want to hurt her.
Oh, you don't want to hurt her.
How can I tell her about this?
That'll be the gentle portion of things, but don't forget, you're with the free souls, you're with your brothers. We'll figure out a way to get you through this, and we'll get you the control you need. You don't necessarily have to kill people. That family was a mistake. You were really, really hungry, but I believe in you, August. You can control this. It's okay. We just got to get you fed. We got to get.
Is this what you go through every night?
Every single night, and for the foreseeable future till the stars go out.
How do you do it? How do you do it? I've never known anything like this. It hurts inside. Like, I'm not hungry, I'm not thirsty, but I need sustenance.
All right. Well, it looks like we're doing a little bit of wrist biting. So, help my buddy out. Open up a vein.
Oh, okay. As you bite into your wrist, he kind of furrows his brow. He's confused. He's weirded out. But the second he sees that vitae come out of your wound, he just clamps down. And with that, we'll go over to Erikson.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, by Friday night, in the beginning of the evening, you get a phone call from your criminal contact. And he's like, all right, so I have good news and I have bad news. What do you want first?
You already know me. Just hit me with it already.
Okay. Good news is I found that Grant guy. The bad news is that he's the one with Guernsey.
So that couple is Guernsey and Grant Reynolds.
Yeah. Name's Elizabeth Guernsey. She's a whack job. She put one of my boys in the hospital just for finding out who she was.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you need help with compensation on that, by all means, you let me know. Just not now.
Great. Thanks.
But I'll make sure that I make it up to you with that information. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah. I called off my boys. Like, that's too much heat for us to handle right now.
Anything from Chicago?
No. I mean, my boys are still out there. They're still making moves. Yeah, but whatever was supposed to get to Chicago from here has not.
All right. Okay. Anything worrisome? I mean, in the sense where, look, I get the police. I'm just asking if anybody else snooping around besides this power couple.
Oh, about the Chicago thing? Yeah. There's a real hot to trot little blonde number. My boys haven't been able to get anything on her, but she's been asking about Chicago and about some Mickey Douglas.
And by any chance, did any of them get a name?
No, she's upscale though. Suits, shoulder pads.
Suits, shoulder pads, and you said blonde hair?
Yes, sir.
And when was that? When was the last time that they saw this person?
Maybe a week ago.
About a week. Okay. You know what's funny? Out of all of this, I don't know this guy's name because he never gave me a name, nor did I ever give him one.
I think he operates under aliases. So I think like the easiest one to kind of give him would be like call him the Rat.
Well, no, there's already somebody called the Rat that I was trying to look for before.
Call him Deep Throat.
Hmm. Uh. Okay. I'll just call. You know what? Let's just call him Blue Eyes
Okay.
for now. Just
Yeah.
so. Well, Blue Eyes, I do appreciate everything that you have done, like I said, and uh, be sure to check. Be sure to check at your home. You're gonna be getting something nice from me as soon as as soon as I get some more information on what I'm trying to look for. But anything new, please
Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah. All right. You got it. Yeah. Just be careful with this Guernsey chick. She's fucked. Only way I can put it.
Well, I mean, I'm not too sane myself. Do you know that? If you know what I mean.
Yeah, but you you don't put people in the hospital just for finding your name.
No, I haven't done that yet. You're right. You're right about that. But I'll keep my eyes peeled. And thanks for the word of advice, Blue Eyes. I'll be talking to you soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are you gonna meet up with everybody before heading off to your meeting with Elizabeth and the rest of the?
Oh yeah, that was the thing. I wanted to be able to, since I was told this before Thursday, I would have wanted to at least somehow relay this information for everybody. I know that Mustang went on her own. I know that Andreas ended up going back to last call, and since last call is I guess the only way I can describe it is our central point. That's
Mhm.
where I would want the information to at least be relayed to them that this is what I found out. We
Mhm.
need to head out. We need to head out to meet up with at least with our group.
Yeah. So yeah, Sam would have definitely gotten that information to everybody's hands. So what are you thinking? Like meet up Friday at 11 at the last call and then head over to wherever you're supposed to meet Elizabeth and the rest?
Honestly, the sooner in my opinion, the sooner I get there, the better.
Okay.
So, I, barring anybody else, whatever they need to do,
Mhm.
obviously I'm not going to go alone.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So that information exists out there. So we'll wrap up everything that takes place before Friday, and we'll go back to the basement of the florist shop, where this kind of bloody mist of a humanoid outline has breathed in, and very softly you just hear this rasp of a voice say, and Saif kind of looks
Oh,
at you.
shit.
Do you know who this is?
I don't know that I'm gonna tell him just yet.
Okay. This name does not ring any bells from me.
Mhm. Gosh.
He looks at her at the thing. He's like, "Who are you, Gretelmeyer?" And she goes, "Tremere."
No, he asked the second question.
Yeah, yeah. And then he's like, "Where are you now, then? If you can tell us." And she goes, "West Salem." And then you just see it kind of disperse, and the blood kind of starts to just fall back down like a gentle rain on the table.
Oh. So Gretel Meyer up here. This is the Childer, right?
Yeah, he looks at you.
Yeah.
He's like, "Why would Tremere torture another Tremere? This makes no sense."
Gretel Tremere gone to for blood sorcery. I'm trying to remember what my notes said.
Yeah.
About her.
You know that Andreas was looking for her.
Yeah. I do. I don't tell Saif anything about Gretel.
Okay.
That was the sheriff who sent me looking for her originally, right?
No, it was one of your brotherhood.
Oh, right.
But isn't she somebody's Childer?
Maybe. But
Somebody important.
he kind of looks at the rain spatter of blood, and he's just like, I hope that you got something interesting from that. I don't know what that is, or why Tremere would punish another Tremere. This goes beyond punishment. This is torture. This is not, even for them, this is out of hand.
Yeah, I don't say anything.
Yeah. He's like, very well. Let us go then, and I can do some research on the blood that I found and see where this knife was cultivated from.
I did want to ask about the knife.
Mhm.
Other than it's made of obsidian and it has like a leather strap on it,
Mhm.
is there anything like is there anything coming from it that I can feel? Is there
You see that he's tilted it towards the light in several directions, and he's kind of made note of what he's seen, but he's kind of like kept it away from you, so you don't know if he's seen something and he's keeping it from you, or if he's kind of like just admiring the craftsmanship, or trying to figure out where the craftsmanship originated from.
So I ask him, is this part of the ritual? This knife?
It can be. These are dangerous. These dark knives. depending on what they are attuned to, they could be simple ritualistic tools, or they could be equivalent to, you know, a house fire and the pinprick of a knife's edge. This is why I was very careful with it.
So what kind of what would it be used for in a ritual?
Depending on the attunement, clearly looking around the room and looking at what Miss Meyer was put through, this was definitely designed for torture more than anything. So I can assume that this was used to incite pain. I almost feel bad for this Gretel Meyer, but she's a usurper, and as such, she's probably earned whatever has come her way.
Wonder if she's. I would imagine if the blood talked to us, she's alive.
Yes. The ritual would not have worked if she had been destroyed.
Good to know. Could you do that ritual again?
Not with her blood, but I could do it with someone else.
Like the blood in the syringe?
If it is not hers, yes.
Could you try it?
Sure, if there is time. He goes over, kind of lays the blood as subtly as possible and as kind of judicious as possible. He kind of lays out a long string of it. He goes through the same kind of ritual, and then there's a moment where the blood kind of starts to shoot out these thorns that spread like branches, and you see them become this hulking mass. Excuse me. It is 9 feet tall. It is just this mass of muscle and fur with this lupine head, and he kind of steps back. And in doing so, he kind of doesn't finish the ritual, and the blood just kind of gushes and evaporates. And you see him kind of hold the table for support, and he's just like, that is a lupine. How did he get a werewolf's blood? Who is this Andrew Gibbons that you have set me upon?
That's what we're trying to find out. So
This man is dangerous.
there's werewolf blood in the syringe. Is he trying to get it into Gretel?
This would not prove to do anything. Perhaps sometimes if you've ever fed off of lupine, it's easier to incite rage within yourself. It's easier to give in to the beast. Why would he want to do this to Gretel?
Use her as a weapon? Torture her further?
I don't like the look of this.
There's nothing else in this room
No.
that we haven't investigated.
And with that kind of, with his last statement, he's already making his way towards the stairs.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we'll pick up with you back on Friday with Erikson, but for the last little bit of Thursday, we go back to Andreas. And you increase your hunger by 1 as you kind of give some of your blood over to Augie. And you see him struggle to pull himself away. He's like,
Do I need to grapple him to get him off of me?
no. Like you know, you've seen the struggle before. Excuse me. He comes to really quickly after pulling himself away. He's just like, that's delicious.
Getting a little better now? Picture coming in a little clearer, buddy?
I mean, I'm still hungry.
We'll get to that in a little bit, man. This was just to take the edge off, man.
This doesn't go away.
Remember when we had to get Brody off of heroin, and he had that whole, this is basically going to happen on the lower level every night. This is why you're going to have to stay fed. It's going to be more important than ever to keep yourself under control. And yeah, for a little while, you might want to stay away from some of the people who are really close to you. But for God's sakes, you can stay near us. I can handle this. Bartley can handle this. Even Shepard's got you. Okay?
Nods.
Okay.
I feel like I've just become a burden for no reason.
But we all feel like we're parasites upon the world itself. It's no big deal. It's just biblical.
No big deal.
Well, when you've lasted a few decades, you've seen a few wars, and you've seen thousands of people die. Not all from my hand, I promise.
He kind of slumps back down in his cot, and he's just like, decades. Jesus, man, how old are you?
I checked. How old am I right now?
How old is Bartley?
Bartley, I have no idea. I doubt he was even born in the 1900s.
Jesus, fuck.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, think about this, buddy. I probably fought with your dad or your grandpa in World War II. Depends on what theater they were in.
You
I
serious?
saw more death. Yeah, I saw more death and destruction than you'll ever see in your life. Be grateful for that.
Yeah, my grandpa was part of the 122 out in Germany. He was behind.
Does this ring a bell?
Yeah, one of the 122 is definitely one of the people that you've bounced into. They were paratroopers, kind of behind enemy lines, doing espionage kind of bullshit. Not bullshit, but
this is before. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Stuff we can't talk about because they'd have to kill us.
Yes.
So, was this, and would I have run into this guy before or after my embrace?
The 122s were definitely after.
Okay, so this is like, yeah, when I was with the when I was up in the German forest with the them.
Yep.
Okay. 122, man. August, that really does ring a bell to me. What was your grandfather's name?
Ronald. But he usually went through by his middle name, which is Michael. He hated his first name.
Okay. Is it Michael what?
Michael Brandel.
Michael Brandel. And do I actually have a mental image now?
Yeah. There's a young field promoted sergeant that went up to lieutenant through just because of all the murder, all the death that kind of happened around him. He was one of the people that was they called him touched because they believed that he had devil's luck on his side.
Okay. Is a good chunk of that devil's luck just me hanging around him or what?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably, but yeah, definitely Lieutenant Mike Brandel by the end of the war was still a tall, kind of lanky string bean of a person, but he had muscle on him. He had grit. He had a beard. Had a scar behind his left ear from where some shrapnel almost took him out.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a little kind of cluster of scars on his left hand side from where the shrapnel kind of just danced around him.
Okay.
Which you imagine
it
would have been his death had you not kind of spun him and taken the brunt of the shrapnel.
Okay. So spinning the details about the shrapnel scars and whatnot into my description of them, just as your old, this would be his father, not his grandfather, right? I just did I did the math on the time.
Yeah, this would be his father.
Okay. Still thinking of the modern day.
Yeah.
So yeah, spinning the details about the scars and everything into my description of the guy. I explained to August, some of the stuff some of the stuff we were doing in World War II. As a matter of fact, that the only reason your old man's alive is when the bomb exploded and that shrapnel went off. I kind of got in the way and spun him out, so he got about a fraction of the shrapnel he should have, and guess who got the rest?
You're his gypsy bodyguard?
Is that what he called me?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was part of the army with him. Not ranked up to lieutenant or anything like that. I got captured a little too quickly early on, but yeah. We were doing a lot of the behind the lines espionage, going against the Nazis, doing our thing. Yeah, that was actually me with him.
And you see him at this point. He kind of reaches into his wallet and he pulls out a folded picture, and it is the surviving members of the platoon, and you can see Mike Brandel there, and on the opposite side of the picture you see yourself in your old World War II uniform. Just a couple of Romani scattered in the picture as well.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of like holds it up. So he looks at the picture, he looks at you, he's just like,
yeah, I pull the hair out of my eyes or anything, so he gets the same look.
It's like, fuck, this is real.
Yeah, that's you get to watch history unfold. That's kind of the interesting and good side of this, August. But downside is, well, you're going through it right now. All the thirst, all the hunger, the worry that you're going to murder everybody within a 10-mile radius just because you might be a little bit thirsty that evening. I know it's rough, and I'm not going to tell you it's going to get easier. As a matter of fact, it's going to get a lot worse. But you're strong enough to deal with this. You got the right breeding.
Yeah, and you see him put the picture away, and then he slowly kind of walks over to a chair, and he slumps down in it. He's just kind of like looks up at you, defeated. And we'll say that you talk him through the rules of what it is to become a kindred. You're kind of trying to ask him what he is, what he remembers from that night, and things like that.
That was the part I really needed to get to. Talking. I mean, obviously, I got to talk him down from the trauma, or we're not going to get. He's not going to get anywhere in his head.
Yeah. But you realize quickly that at best, he's going to need to survive as a caitiff. At worst, some clan Bane is going to pop up, and he's going to need a whole new kind of night of talking down. But as far as Thursday is concerned, he kind of sits there. He listens intently as things kind of come up in his memory. He blurts them out, kind of very, very word vomit.
Yeah, I try to use the burgeoning blood bond that I'm at. No, I can't say accidentally, but kind of what I started to try and keep him calm, keep him on the level. If I can make myself a temporary touchstone for him to just be able to deal.
Yeah. And you find out that whoever attacked the caravan knew what to expect. Like he talks about how he saw at least 4 pairs of headlights. How there was an armored kind of van that drove the Winnebago off the road. How even with their firepower, like, they couldn't really do much. Like, he remembers a couple of people kind of screaming in pain and going down. But a lot of the free souls that were taken out by a couple of shadows. He says they were moving so fast that all he could see was just like trails and shadows and kind of outlines in the headlights. And then he remembers being stabbed, and then he remembered again being stabbed a second time, but this time it wasn't painful. And he kind of puts his hand reflexively up to his neck. And as he moves the collar aside, you can see that whatever bite marks there should be there aren't there. So you know that whoever did this cleaned up after themselves. Like, this was
Right,
not supposed to be an embrace. This was completely accidental.
Okay, this is we're gonna have to play a little game of Hunt the Sire later.
Yeah. But you get as much information as you can from him.
Mhm.
And then as sunlight kind of starts to come over, or as you can feel the morning come over, Sam tells you that he's free to stay here until he kind of gets his bearings. Shepard kind of motions to the kind of big truck that you guys have, and he starts to make for wherever is at least a mile away from wherever you were sleeping last. And we find the three of you back on Friday, June 8th of 1984. Erikson is already at the last call bar by the time the two of you arrive. How do you want to share your information?
Well,
Do you want to
I'm
share
already,
information?
Well, I'm already. You guys can tell I'm a little. I'm just, scratching, looking left and right, kind of a little anxious. All right, finally, you guys come in the bar. So I'm like, oh, all right. Is there anything before we go? Is there anything that you guys need to do?
I need to check on a friend of mine in the back, so you'll excuse me.
Mustang, how are you?
So is Andreas gone?
Yeah, at this point he's gone back, and you see Sam has kind of led him into the back hallway.
I get really close to Erikson. Gretel's alive.
Wait, where?
She's up in West Salem.
And hold up. There's been talks of a guy that's been around with you looking at some sites.
Yeah.
Has
Site.
this So, okay, so he was able to help you out with that.
Yeah.
But no exact location?
Not exactly. No.
Okay.
Just
Um,
that she's in West Salem.
all right.
Don't tell Andreas.
Well, as long as you don't tell Andreas that, it seems most likely that what happened to Mickey on his way to Chicago was done by the Anarchs in our group.
But why?
I don't know. All I know is that when we get there and you see Nikolai and I see Liz, I either, there's gonna be some interesting development once Andreas walks in there with us. So all I'm saying is that he hasn't done anything to wrong us, and if anything, he's helped us out. So I'm gonna try to see if I can smooth the shit show that I started when we get there.
Fine.
However, not however, I did find out a little more information. Grant Reynolds is not acting alone.
Oh no. Who's he
No.
with?
Well, from the information that my buddy told me, her name is Elizabeth Quinn June. Did I say that right?
Guernsey.
Okay.
Guernsey.
Grinsey, forgive me. I wrote it in a different spot. Elizabeth Grinsey. And if you think that I'm a little out of hand, this lady is a bird of a feather with Grant Reynolds.
Do I recognize this name?
Guernsey is not a name that you recognize from your memory, from like your own kind of history, but you have heard Nikolai mention her.
My sire might know stuff about her.
Which is probably what I'm going to want to bring up to them when we get there. So I mean, is before we go in there, is there anything else that you happen to have found out?
Other than the fact that in the bookshop and in the florist, there was a hidden basement where they were doing rituals. That's basically it. Both basements had Gretel Meyer in it at some point. Her hair was found, and so was her blood. And get this, there was a syringe with lupine blood in it.
Okay, so what? And that doesn't make any sense.
I know.
Why? You don't happen to have that syringe, do you?
Did I keep it?
No, remember you used all of it when you had Saif
Oh,
do
I
the
used
ritual.
all of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, we used it in some kind of ritual to see whose blood that belonged to, hoping it was Andrew's, but it wasn't. To see if we could find him, but it was lupine.
And there was nothing you can gather from that other than the fact that it's a werewolf.
It might have been used in some ritual with Gretel. That's
So
about it.
she is alive.
Yes, she's alive and in West Salem.
And in West Salem.
Mhm.
All right. Well, okay. Um, that's a lot
Yeah.
already on top of what we already know. The I have my contacts hopefully give me some more information, but they're not going to touch Grant Reynolds or Guernsey whatsoever. If we're gonna get any kind of lead, I think that we're gonna need to talk to Nikolai about this.
Yeah.
I do want to share this information with Erikson. Just we'll cut out the stuff that is privy for just us for now.
There.
So, as you two are conspiring against the Ravnos in the group, which is such a delight, considering the Ravnos clan motto, inside the back room, you can see August is kind of sitting up. He's got his back to a wall. He's kind of got what looks to be a composition book and a pen, and he's kind of writing. And as the door opens, he kind of looks up. He's just like, hey, Andy.
Dare I ask how the evening finds you?
Well, it's weird not being in the sun, not getting sunlight.
That one's really, really going to bother you.
I did remember something while I was sleeping, I guess. Is that what it is? Because it feels like
It's
more than sleep. It feels like I'm dead, if I'm being honest.
my sire used to tell me that death takes its toll from us just a little bit each day, and that's what we have to go through just so we can wake up in the evening. Sunrise when the sun's riding high in the sky, deepest sleep you can imagine. That's a vulnerability on us too. You have to remember.
You see him
Bury yourself
flip
down, get
forward.
behind closed.
Yeah, he flips forward into the book and he just kind of like looks at him to, okay, sire's the one who made you. Okay, all right, okay.
Sire's the son of a bitch who bit you.
Yeah.
And
I'm,
caused this.
yeah, I took notes. I remembered the ugly parcel that you had us kind of take to Chicago. He was a nice guy. We since I was inside the Winnebago, I got to talking to him a little bit on the first night and a little bit on that second night before we were attacked. He knew they were after him, and he tried to drive them away from us. Tried to like decoy himself, even though he was the target of this thing. And I heard someone say no survivors. Clear as day. I mean, clear as night. No.
Well, clear as day is fine. Yeah, I gotta be honest, August. I don't think you were meant to be a survivor. Sometimes these accidents happen. They might have just been feeding off of you just to top off, get a little more blood in their system before they head out away from the scene. But maybe you were a little too close to death. Maybe you'd taken just one hit too many. And when he drained you, hopefully you guys managed to injure them back, and maybe that's how you got some blood in your system. But he might just be an accidental embrace, my friend.
What happens now then?
What happens now? Find out who did this to you, why, and we make them pay the best way we know how.
I like the sound of that.
Did your father tell you some of the stuff we got into during World War II? What his gypsy bodyguard had him doing on a regular basis? Throats we cut?
Not exactly when he came back, but once I was like in high school and I was thinking about why not to go to college. I think I think he knew that I was contemplating joining the army. I think in his way he kind of got me not to.
It's ironic those actions ended up pushing you towards me. Part of probably the most violent period of his life.
Yeah.
Which, if you happen to contact him after this point, you cannot tell him that you work for me, basically.
Yeah. No, I don't think I can. After what's happened, I don't think I can ever go back to that life.
Fortunately, that's not something we have to deal with right now. That's the other joy of being bikers, if you'll remember. We get to disappear for as long as we like.
Yeah.
Lifetimes sometimes. And
yeah.
I'll learn that soon enough.
I wish I could disappear.
Like this?
I don't know.
I'm gonna mess with him for a second.
Okay. You're gonna use
use a little bit of my obfuscate, yeah. I don't need to freak him out with chemistry just yet.
Remember to use unseen passage. You cannot be observed.
True.
But if you want to use Silence of Death, you could. Is that you could turn that on, stomp around, and you wouldn't make any noise.
I'll just tell him, I was just like, in 3 seconds, I want you to scream as loud as you can.
I mean,
Kick it on.
he'll still scream. Like your sound is deafened.
Oh, man, they've changed that power since the old version. So
Yeah, it's not quietus anymore.
Okay. So yeah, I'll try the silence of death, stomp around, scream at him for a second, just let him hear the unnerving, absolute lack of silence despite vibrations.
Yeah. Like the beginning of your scream is muted, but the second it reaches a certain decibel level, like it does break your silence. And he kind of like sits back. He's like, "Can I do that?"
Well, I'm not exactly sure what you can do yet. See, there's a lot of different bloodlines among us, and each one can sort of do different things on their own. You can learn tricks from some of the other clans. If you ever find out what you are, or from what bloodline you're from, you'll see you'll get an understanding of what you're more specifically geared towards and good at. But you can learn a lot of freaky powers. Do you remember Bram Stoker's Dracula? We can do some of that shit.
So he looks down at his composition book and he's like, "I'm gonna need more books."
Yeah. Oh,
At this point, the door opens and you see Sam kind of pop in, and she's like, "Hey, the senator's getting antsy."
oh, what the fuck else is new?
Yeah, well, it's a thing.
All right, I'll go handle it.
All right.
Sam, you gonna be safe here for a while?
Yeah, I'll take
Or is
care
he
of it.
gonna? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll take care of him.
If you can get a hold of Bartley, have him take him out hunting, because kid can't handle it yet.
All right. If I see him, I'll let him know.
I appreciate it.
Yep. And she lets you slide by her. She kind of closes the door behind her. She walks into the safe house. And sure enough, as you come out, you see that Erikson is kind of standing at the table. Mustang is still sitting.
All right. Catch any snippets of conversation as I'm walking up?
No, it looks like he's just kind of in that position of like ready to leave at the drop of a hat, and just kind of like being anchored there by whatever the two of you are doing.
I see on Andreas as he's coming from the back.
Yeah, it's a little bit of
And
Earth, Wind, and Fire playing on the jukebox.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I like this song. Wait. Okay. So
Yeah.
Andreas, everything okay back there?
Actually, getting a lot better than I thought. I've got some leads on the Chicago fiasco.
Oh, well, that's actually great news. I mean, I've gotten information as far as with Graham Reynolds. He's not doing this alone.
No, he wouldn't. Guy like him, he can't be working alone, even as powerful as he.
And I give him the information as far as as far as Guernsey, what I found out. Want to also relate to him as far as the fact that none of my contacts want to get anywhere near that couple. They're calling them the power couple of Salem currently.
Yep.
Okay. Any idea where they're currently quartered? I mean, if everybody's trying to stay away from them, where are they staying away from?
That's the problem. Everybody, the last person that tried to get this information almost died just by giving me the name of the person that he's working with. So they're right now tight-lipped at the moment. Hopefully, we can run into some more information. What I would want to do is for us, when we get to to see my sire and to see our group, that we try to find out some more information so that we can move forward with this, try to figure out where Graham Reynolds is. And I look over at Mustang.
Ready to go?
Okay.
Yeah, I nod. I look over at Andreas.
Yeah, why not? I can get the rest of the information off my buddy later.
Ramblers, let's get rambling. So Erikson goes in Mustang's car, I take it, and then Andreas follows in the bike. But you go to the address, and it is in a southwesterly portion of West Salem. It is a kind of big warehouse district, very similar to where you first met this group of people. And as you pull up, you see that there are other cars there. There's another motorcycle, which Andreas recognizes as Bartley's motorcycle.
Okay.
But as you kind of walk in, you see a couple of ghouls kind of keeping watch, and they motion for you to go upstairs towards an office inside one of the warehouses, located in this kind of cul-de-sac of warehouses. And in the office, you see a couple familiar faces. You see Yvette Morrison sitting at the head of a table. To her left is Elizabeth Barrister, who obviously you would recognize, Erikson. There's a woman to her right that you don't recognize, but you remember her being called Camila. There's another older, kind of German-looking woman to her left as well, who neither of you have met. On the same side as Elizabeth, you see Nikolai Barlow kind of sitting there. Next to him is Mr. Bartley Gray. Across from the two of them is a face that is unfamiliar to Andreas or Erikson, but is very familiar to Mustang, and that is Saif sitting among the council.
Oh shit!
And you see Yvette stand up, and she's like, "Hello, it's good to see you again. How have you been? I've heard about the recent altercation that happened in Elysium."
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, you guys know as much as we do, apparently, of what happened with Grant Reynolds coming in and stirring it up before leaving,
Mm.
claiming Salem his own.
Mhm. It is an issue that we have to handle. How has your primary goal been moving forward? Do you think that you are in a good position yet to help out against any of the machinations of the tower?
As of right now we're just we're at, and I start looking back and forth, and I I'm starting to I look over at Andres and I look at Mustang, and there is a lot of leads, and this is a lot of information that we're still trying to gather here. But right now, it doesn't look like we've lost a step, if that's what you're asking.
Good, good. I have heard that there are some good pieces of information coming in. We have an expert bloodhound, if I could use the term, with no disrespect to you, Mr. Najar, but he has come from across the pond to help us hunt down this Andrew Givens, as he is a someone that understands what it is to go against Tremere. And you see the dark brown gentleman kind of stand up. He's wearing this very silk Arabic kind of looking set of clothing. It is very flowy, very breathable. But you notice that he has like burnt honey colored eyes, very short, well kept black hair, and what looks to be a set of almost tribal tattoos that come down, that kind of peek out of his sleeve on the right hand side. And he kind of nods to the three of you. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm here to hunt the usurpers, by whatever means necessary. But if I can be of any assistance, please do not hesitate. He nods again and kind of sits down.
Nod towards him in his direction.
His name to us?
Saif Najjar.
Okay, no, that is safe. Never mind. Thought it was-
Yeah. We finally meet.
And you see the woman that you know as Camila kind of sit back in her chair, and she's just like, what is going to happen with Grant Reynolds? As this is why you have gathered us, no? To discuss the big bad boogeyman. And as she says that, you hear a clapping sound from the steps, and you see a thin woman kind of come up. She looks frail as far as like her constitution is concerned, very thin, almost waferish, long black hair, these very muted blue eyes, and just this very kind of faux power suit without the jacket. And following behind her, you see Grant Reynolds. And there is a moment where everybody kind of, you can almost hear the collective puckering of assholes.
Oh, okay. I don't have to bring up that information. It has brought to our doorstep.
Yeah. And as the woman kind of steps over to the side, you see, you're not sure if it's your imagination or just the way that she's kind of swaying like a crack addict, but you almost see the shadows behind her kind of swaying in time with her. But you see Grant kind of come over, and almost like Brandon Lee in The Crow, he jumps up and sits down at the edge of the table. He puts his hands on his knees. He's just like, I hear this is the council of Anarchs. Well, whoop de fucking do. Everybody gets a vote, huh? That's how you want to run things, Miss Morrison? And she looks at him and she's like, you misunderstand, Mr. Reynolds. We have to act in accordance with each other if we wish to topple the tower. And he's like, that's where you're making your first mistake. You're thinking like them, and you're playing their game. There's no winning a game that's rigged against you. You understand that, right? And you see him kind of slide off and stand up. I'm not here to make enemies. I know that if I wanted to, if we wanted to, kind of motions to the girl, we could do a good kind of number on a majority of you. And she kind of points at Nikolai and at Bartley, and he's just like, I respect the two of you, and I would give you the opportunity to step away if it came to that. And you see Saif pull out a kukri from a rear holster, and he just puts it on the table. And Grant Reynolds looks at him and he's just like, you, I would love to go a couple of rounds with, Mr. Najjar. I've heard so much about you in particular. Saif says nothing to him. But, like I said, I am here on amicable terms. I have declared myself Baron of Salem. Now, whatever Geraldine wishes to do about it, gonna mean a whole anthill of beans to what my real plans are. So, I figure I can be the face of your movement. That way you, all of you, since you seem to be wanting to scurry around in the shadows, and at that point you hear her kind of start to giggle, and you just hear shadows. He's like, since all of you feel like you need to scurry around in the shadows to deal with the tower, I'll do you the favor of being public enemy number 1. All I ask is that I have free reign of the city. No one demands anything from me. No one needs anything from me. No one wants anything from me. I lost San Francisco. I've lost Los Angeles. I'm not about to lose Salem. Are these terms sufficient? And you see them kind of start to talk amongst themselves, and he slams his fist on the table, and you see this huge crater. And he's like, no, you misunderstand me. That's a yes or no question. Are these terms sufficient? And you see Yvette kind of step behind her chair. She's like, if we must give you an answer now, you understand that it will be a hasty response. It will not be thought out. And he kind of looks at her. He's like, baby, sometimes you gotta shoot from the hip. This isn't a rifle race. This is a gun show. This is a gunfight. Last stand at the OK Corral. Now, are you packing 6 shooters? Or did you bring a knife to a gunfight? And he just kind of looks at the table. He looks at the 3 of you off to the side. He smiles. And he looks back at the table. All right. Show of hands. Who's all right with the terms that I have laid out so far? And I hope and I pray that you don't make me alter this deal any further. And you see the German-looking lady that you don't know raise her hand. Camila raises her hand. Elizabeth raises her hand. But Nikolai, Bartley, and Saif refuse to raise their hand. And he looks over at Yvette, and with a huge smile on his face, he's just like, this is the position you've built yourself, honey. You're the deciding vote. Cast the fucking vote. And as he says that, you see the crackhead kind of step forward, and the shadows pull with her, almost like forming tentacles that come up out of the ground, out of the wall, up from between her legs, kind of on the floor where she is casting her own shadow. And after a very somber, kind of quick moment, Yvette just nods. Have it your way, Mr. Reynolds. And he kind of nods, snaps his fingers at the woman who pouts, but the shadows, you notice, kind of vanish, and then she starts to make her way down the stairs, and he's like, "It has been a pleasure doing business with all of you, and I look forward to our long and peaceful reign of the city. If you excuse me, I need to make my way across the Willamette and make my presence known. Good night to you all." And he makes his way to the stairs.
As he's making his way to the stairs, I want to say to you, I want to say to you and to also Elizabeth Guernsey, have a decent night. And then I literally mockingly bow as low as I can to him.
Okay. And you just hear him as he stops at the stairs. He kind of looks at the three of you. He's like, Wait up, Lizzie. Don't start having any fun without me." And you see him just plop down the stairs one step at a time. And you see after he leaves, there's a moment. Yvette kind of comes back around, and she just sinks into her chair. And she just kind of looks at the table. She's like, "My God, what have you done?" And at that point, Nikolai kind of looks over at the three of you. He's like, "This is unfortunate, because now we can't do anything push against Geraldine because of Mr. Reynolds. We don't know if our plans are going to counter his plans. Now we have..." And he kind of stops. And for the first time since your embrace, Mustang, you see him slam his fist on the table. There's a show of emotion that you've never seen from him. Like, he is angry. And he just kind of looks out. He's like, "This council has no backbone. It will not stand up against someone like Grant Reynolds. It will not stand up against someone like Geraldine Birmingham. I rescinded my support. I am done here. Do not bother me again, Miss Morrison." Saif, you are free to finish your contract if you'd like. Just know I am going to find haven elsewhere. I recommend the rest of you follow suit. Evening. He stands up, grabs his cane, and starts walking towards the steps. Kind of just a curt nod towards Mustang. Bartley gets up, fixes his tie, and he's just like, "Well, my clan is known for coming and going, so I guess this is where I'll be going. And good day to you all." And he, with a smile, just kind of goes over, shakes Erikson's hand, kind of motions, like nods with a big smile at Mustang. He's just like, "I hope that you will take care of my childer in my absence." Then he kind of, you see him kiss Andreas on each cheek, pat him on the shoulders, and he just kind of...
As he does this, I speak to him in Romani for a moment. "What the fuck did you get me into, old?"
And he says to you in Romani, just, "You have my deepest apologies. But see this through. things might get interesting. And he kind of nods once more to Yvette and he walks away. Saif pulls his kukri, sheaths it. He kind of looks at the table. He's like, I am here until Mr. Givens is killed. Whatever other usurpers that get in my way are dealt their final hand. Otherwise, I have no allegiances in this city. He kind of stands up. Thank you for your time. And then he also kind of comes over, nods at the three of you, lingers for a moment on Mustang, and goes, you know how to find me. He steps down off the stairs. Only the ladies are left now, and there's a moment where they kind of all look in your direction. And Elizabeth Barrister is the one that just kind of like, yeah, you guys can go. I think this has become a fucking travesty. Would I'll be in contact.
I motion up towards the table, put my hands on the table, and say, "Look, just because we got the lunatic couple running around here doesn't mean that we can't finish what we started. We can find Andrew Givens. We happen to know somebody who's within. We happen to know a coterie that's within uh, the Camarilla that would be able to be of some assistance, at least with information, so that we know what they're planning on doing, so that what we do doesn't affect Grant Reynolds."
She nods and she's hesitant, but she just looks at you. She's like, all right, whatever you do has to be below the radar. You cannot bring this man's gaze back on us.
Oh, he already knows who we are. All right. I mean,
You're pissing in your boots this hard. How are you going to go up against the Camarilla in the first place? Two vampires from out of town have you all pissing your pants.
I don't even look at that point when he says that. I'm just looking down on the table because that's a very true statement.
Who's got the authority to say anything to me? I mean,
Yeah.
we've got.
Yeah.
You guys are sitting here declaring the meeting over. I'm pretty sure the guy who would have given us leave already left.
Yep. And there's like nobody really moves at the table. They're kind of just like staring out into space. But you know that there's an understanding there that this was supposed to be something different, and it's become something that none of them were prepared to do or handle.
Started the evening thinking they were going to become a Sabat bootleg.
So you guys, you guys leave, or you want to linger?
No, I nod to Liz and I look at Mustang and Andreas and say, "There's nothing for us here." And I turn around and I start walking out.
Follow.
Okay. And as the three of you kind of get back into your car and your motorcycle respectively, take off, assuming you're heading back to the last call, this is where we'll wrap up our episode. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us, and as always, please get out there and get your vaccines if you haven't. Please continue to wash your hands, wear your masks in public, and as always, please be aware that mental health should not be stigmatized or a taboo. If you need help, just know that there is places that you can reach out for help. If you're live on Twitch right now, you'll notice that there are some phone numbers being put up in the chat in case you need to reach out for any help from anyone. And if you're a friend or family member of somebody that is usually a strong personality, please reach out to them, because a simple hello or how are you can definitely change the trajectory of somebody's life. And with that, I will see you all on Wednesday for our Legend of the Five Rings game, on Friday for our Star Wars game, or if not, I will see you on Monday for our Camarilla chapter. So please be safe, and I'll see you when I see you.